Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Angel. This is Jorge speaking, and today I'm gonna do the final presentation of English 4 that is about human trafficking. It's not a really easy topic to talk, but it's really important to know about it. So, first of all, I would like to mention a definition about what is human trafficking. So, human trafficking is the illegal trade of humans for exploitation. We have also forced labor, sexual exploitation, sexual harassment, organ removal, and other forms of modern slavery. So it is considered one of the most severe violations of human rights. So as we can see, it's a really hard topic to talk that includes a lot of forms of violation of the human rights. So now I would like to mention some types of human trafficking. So, as I mentioned before, we have sexual exploitation. That means that victims are forced into maybe prostitution or other forms of sexual exploitation. We have also forced labor. That means that they put people to work non-stop every day, like without the proper conditions. They don't give you money. They are not like taking care of you. They are just putting you work non-stop all day without proper conditions. So forced labor is other form of human trafficking. And also we have child exploitation. That means that child or children are putting into work labors, and also they are using maybe for pornography. They are using for as soldiers. So that is other way to do human trafficking. And also we have organ trafficking. That means that victims are forced or deceived into giving up their organs, and they sell their organs for a lot of money. And also we have domestic servitude. That means that humans or individual victims are enslaved as domestic. That means workers are like putting into a house, and they are like working non-stop all day in a house, doing the dishes, doing all the things. So they are like putting as just a domestic object. So another thing that I want to mention now is the global view of the human trafficking, or the statistics around the world. So we have that over 27 million people are victims of human trafficking over the world, according to the International Labor Organization. And also we have that, talking about gender, women and girls make up 71% of all victims. And also the focus are in children, and also children, like women and children are the population that they focus to do human trafficking. And about regions around the world, we have Asia Pacific, we have Africa, and we have Eastern Europe that report the highest rates of human trafficking. So you can see it's really hard to see the focus of the victims that are women and children, and also the areas in the world that are more affected, like Asia, Africa, and Europe, about human trafficking. I would like to mention also key drivers of human trafficking, or I mean, what things can get people more susceptible to get into the human trafficking. We have poverty. Financial vulnerability makes individuals more susceptible for traffickers' false promises. I mean, when we are having financial problems, when we don't have money, sometimes we maybe go to the internet, for example, and we find a job that says like we have to go to Europe and we are gonna learn a lot of money in this enterprise. They are gonna pay us a lot of money, and they are gonna give us a lot of really good conditions, but at the end it's not true, and maybe we go and we access to this, and they are finally ending being human traffickers. So vulnerability and the necessity of money sometimes can guide us to take decisions that are not good, and we can end up into the human trafficking. Also, we have lack of education That means limited access to education can prevent people from understanding or escaping exploitation. So lack of education sometimes can get people like they don't understand how human trafficking works, and they can easily get into the human trafficking. They are so vulnerable because they don't know like the ways, they don't know how to identify human traffickers. Also, we have conflicts and instability. That means that war and political instability displace individuals and also making them vulnerable. And we have also demand for cheap labor and exploitation. That means industry or enterprises benefit from low-cost labor or sexual services. Some enterprises, some industries use people, and they put people work non-stop without conditions, and at the end they are end up being human traffickers. And also they can put people to do sexual services or any other things that are not human. So sometimes enterprises or industry can also give exploitation. So, what methods are used by traffickers to get into the victims? We have deceptions, that mean promising victims legitimate work, education, or a better life. So, they are promising victims that they are gonna give you money, they are gonna give you a better life condition, they are gonna give you work, they are gonna give you everything. But at the end, this end up like a deception because they are not really giving you that. They use that to catch your attention and then use it to manipulate you. And finally, they have you because they promise everything and you like believe all of this. We have also coercion. That means they use threats, they use violence, or they use psychological manipulation to catch the victims. Also, we have transportation and recruitment. That means victims are often moved across borders or within their own country. So they guide you to another country where you are not like a legal person. You don't have like the conditions, and in that country, that foreign country, you are like vulnerable. So they use that to give you more damage and use you more because you don't have like you are not legal, you don't have like the condition in another country. So that can be other method that they use to catch people. So what are the consequences for victims of human trafficking? Because we know all of these violation of human rights affects a lot to the victims. So we have physical and mental health problems because victims often suffer from depressions, anxiety, physical injuries, and they can also suffer from sexually transmitted infections. Also, we have loss of identity and independence because traffickers often take victims' documents and isolate them. And also, we have social stigmatization because many survivors face a stigma, especially in cases of sexual exploitation. So we have all of these group of things that affect victims of human trafficking, that are physical and mental injuries and problems. The good thing is that we know that countries and politics have done some efforts to combat human trafficking. For example, the Palermo Protocol in 2000, a United Nations treaty that is focusing on prevention, protection, and prosecution. Also, government actions as street borders control and anti-trafficking laws. Also, we have victim protection programs. Also, we have not governmental organization as Polaris project that operates the U.S. National Human Trafficking. So we have that some governments and some part of the politics, they have done some efforts to prevent, to stop this problem of human trafficking by having a street border control into the countries, by doing organizations and things to protect people from falling into these inhuman actions. But how to help to combat human trafficking? What can we do? We can get it we can get it a lot in education. We can learn and spread awareness about trafficking, signs and prevention. Like we can teach people if we have the knowledge about how to identify when we are with traffickers. What what can we do, what can we don't do in these situations. Also, we can support survivors. We can donate to the organization or volunteer with this organization that helps people that they were going through this human trafficking. Also, we can advocate for policy changes. We can encourage governments to prioritize anti-trafficking laws. And also we can report suspicious activities. We can use hotlines or law enforcement to report suspected trafficking. Like we can also be the people that report all of these inhuman actions. If we see something weird in some enterprises, in some area, we can report them to the police, to the governments, and they can do something to stop that. Those are something that we can do to prevent or to stop or to combat human trafficking. As a conclusion, I would like to say that human trafficking is a really big global problem. It's something that we need to address with education, with laws, with organization. We need to do something about it because many people is falling into this human trafficking, and those are really inhuman conditions. The horrible thing is that women and children are the most focused population of human trafficking, and that is something really really bad because they are the most vulnerable population. So we have to really share awareness about this problem. We have to learn how to identify human traffickers and human trafficking in general, so people can get the knowledge and cannot easily fall into this human trafficking, cannot be vulnerable. So we have to address, we have to advocate stronger policies and supporting organizations, support the victims also that when going through this really hard problem. So we have to address this problem and search a solution because we don't want more victims of human trafficking. So finally, let's finish this video with a real example of human trafficking in the United States.
By the way, many of us have heard that term, sex trafficking, but what does that actually mean? Well, tonight we're going to break down what it means to help you understand and why you should actually care.
Americans care a lot about money. We talk about jobs and taxes and paychecks, but here's what we don't talk about. Right here in the United States, there is a thriving underground economy based on selling children for sex. If sex sells, then business is good. Look at all the money. It was almost $1 billion in this study. But these dirty profits come at a huge cost. This is how sex traffickers do business. It's about supply and demand. First, they need someone to sell. Traffickers target children in their own homes. They find them by combing through social media profiles looking to spark a conversation. The trafficker targets preteens and teens by finding an end, something to bond over and earn their trust. It could be the promise of a modeling career. They might buy them drugs or alcohol, or provide protection from an already dangerous situation at home. Traffickers gain psychological control and use violent threats to force victims to stay. Once the child is isolated from family and friends, the trafficker puts them up for sale. This is where the demand comes in. Traffickers use internet sites to connect with buyers or Johns, but calling them Johns is too polite. They are abusers They are purchasing kids for sex. So who are these buyers? Court records show they've been teachers, pastors, cops, and judges. They could be the guy next door. The trafficker gets the money. The buyer gets sex. The child victim gets exploited and sold. So how is this different from prostitution, pornography, or other sexual acts? These victims are minors. Legally, they cannot consent. This isn't the movies. It's not like Pretty Woman or Taken. Richard Gere is not the buyer. Liam Neeson isn't there to save the day. This is sexual exploitation. This is trafficking. This is modern-day slavery. It's selling girls.
You know, we spent months looking into sex trafficking as part of our Selling Girls investigation. And you can hear a lot of these stories from those who survived and learn more about the warning signs right